Now, ladies and gentlemen, when God removes people from your life, let them go. It may feel like a loss, a heartbreak, or even a betrayal, but understand this: God is making room for something better. Sometimes the people we hold on to the hardest are the very ones that are preventing us from moving forward. The relationships we fight to keep are often the ones that hinder our growth, our peace, and our progress. We may not always understand why things happen the way they do, but trust that God's plan is greater than any plan you could have for yourself. Letting go of people can be one of the hardest things you'll ever do. There is a natural tendency to cling to what is familiar, even when it no longer serves you. You may spend years building relationships, creating memories, and investing emotionally in people who you believed would be there for you forever. The thought of letting go of these people can feel like a loss of identity, a loss of connection, and a loss of something you once held dear. But it's important to understand that sometimes the removal of people from your life is God's way of protecting you. You see, God doesn't remove people from your life to punish you. He removes them because they can no longer help you become the person you are meant to be. Some people come into your life for a season, and when that season ends, it's time for them to move on. This doesn't mean that they are bad people or that you have failed. It just means that your past no longer aligns, and God has bigger things stored for you. The people you once thought were integral to your journey may be the very people keeping you from your next level. When God removes someone from your life, it's not the end of the world, it's a new beginning. You don't have to chase after people who don't appreciate you, people who don't value your worth, or people who consistently bring negativity into your life. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that if you just try harder, if you just make more effort, if you just give more of yourself, then everything will be okay. But what if everything would be okay if you just let go? What if letting go is the key to the breakthrough you've been praying for? In every season of your life, God knows what you need to grow. And sometimes that means removing people who are holding you back. You may not see it at first, but with time, you'll realize that the space that was once filled by these people is now being filled with something much greater. God is not in the business of leaving us empty. He's always working behind the scenes to ensure that our lives are filled with the right people, opportunities, and blessings. But that requires us to trust the process and let go of what no longer serves us. One of the most important lessons we can learn in life is that not everyone who enters our lives is meant to stay. We might meet people who help us grow in certain ways, but the time in our lives might be limited. Some people come into our lives to teach us lessons we wouldn't have learned otherwise, and when that lesson is complete, they may move on. When God removes them, it doesn't mean you've been abandoned. It means you've graduated from the season we're meant to teach you in. But it's also important to understand that people's actions often reflect where they are in their own lives, not where you are. Just because someone walks out of your life or doesn't appreciate what you bring to the table doesn't diminish your worth. Or their decision to leave or drift away has everything to do with their own journey and nothing to do with you. People come and go for reasons beyond our understanding, and sometimes we are left to wonder why things happen the way they do. But trust that God sees the bigger picture, and in His wisdom, He's orchestrating a plan that will ultimately work out for your good. Sometimes letting go means making space for the right people. When you hold on to people who no longer belong in your life, you're preventing yourself from meeting the people who will elevate you. You're closing the door to the new relationships that will bring love, support, and encouragement into your life. And there are people out there who are waiting to be part of your journey. People who celebrate your victories, comfort you in your struggles, and push you toward your potential. But you won't be able to see them if your hands are still holding on to the past. The pain of letting go can feel overwhelming, but the peace that comes afterward is worth it. You may grieve the loss of the relationship, but remember that grief is a process, not a permanent state. With each day that passes, you'll find healing. And with each step you take toward releasing the past, you'll find clarity. Letting go doesn't mean that you failed or that you're giving up on someone. It simply means you're accepting that this part of your journey has ended and it's time to move forward. It's not about giving up. It's about making room for what God has next for you. As you let go, remember that it's okay to mourn. It's okay to feel hurt, disappointed, or confused, but don't let that pain define you. Don't let it hold you hostage and no longer serves you. God is healing you, and in His time, you will look back and realize that everything you thought you lost was actually part of the process of gaining something greater. It's important to remember that God removes people from our lives, not because He wants us to suffer, but because He is protecting us from what we cannot see. He knows the people who are meant to walk with us in the next season of our lives. Sometimes we want to hold on to people who are no longer meant to be there, and God in His wisdom knows that letting them go is for our benefit. Trust that God's timing is perfect. Trust that He is working in ways that you cannot see. Trust that He is guiding you toward the people, the places, and the opportunities that will fulfill your purpose. Letting go of people also means letting go of resentment, bitterness, and anger. When someone walks out of your life or when a relationship ends, it's easy to let your heart fill with negative emotions. You might feel like you've been wronged, mistreated, or betrayed, but remember that these emotions will only keep you stuck in the past. Forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. It's a way of releasing the hold that the past has on you, so that you can move forward into the future God has planned for you. You cannot grow into the person you're meant to be if you're still holding on to the past. You cannot stem to the fullness of your potential if you're weighed down by old relationships, old hurts, and old patterns of thinking. Letting go is not about forgetting. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional and spiritual baggage that keeps you from stepping into the life God has for you. When God removes people from your life, let them go. It's not easy, but it is necessary. It's a step of faith, a step toward trusting that God knows what's best for you. You don't have to understand everything. You just have to trust that He does. And when you trust in His plan, you'll find that every person He removes will be replaced by someone or something better. The people who are meant to stay will stay. The ones who are meant to go will go. And in the end, you will be stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the next season of your life. Let them go. Trust the process. Know that in letting go, you are not losing anything. You are gaining everything that God has in store for you. And when you look back, you'll see that every removal, every change, and every loss was part of God's perfect team. Trust in God's plan. Trusting God's plan is about having faith that everything that happens in your life is part of a divine purpose. Life is full of uncertainties. And there are times when things don't go as we expect, especially when people leave or when relationships change. In those moments, it's easy to feel lost or question why things are happening the way they are. However, trusting in God's plan means recognizing that God sees the bigger picture even when we can't. He understands the direction we need to take and the lessons we need to learn, even if those lessons come through discomfort or loss. When God removes people from your life, it might initially seem like something is being taken away from you. However, trusting in God's plan requires the understanding that what is being removed is not part of your true path. Sometimes we hold on to people or situations that no longer serve us because we can't see the full story. We may not immediately understand why a relationship has ended or why someone is no longer in our life. But God is constantly working behind the scenes to lead us toward a better future, and His decisions are rooted in His love and wisdom, even when we can't fully comprehend them. His trust is built on the belief that God's timing is perfect. When you are struggling with the departure of someone or something, remind yourself that God is not taking things away to hurt you, but to prepare you for what lies ahead. He knows what you need, even when you don't. While you may want to, what is familiar, God is calling you to release it because He is guiding you toward new opportunities, new people, and new experiences that will help you grow. The path ahead is better than what you leave behind, but only when you trust that He knows what's best. Ultimately, trusting in God's plan requires surrendering control and accepting that you are not alone in your journey. When you trust God, you acknowledge that He has a purpose in every season of your life, even if that season includes moments of loss or change. His plan for you is far greater than anything you could imagine, and His purpose for your life is always filled with hope, growth, and fulfillment. By letting go and trusting in His plan, you allow God to lead you where you are meant to be. Embrace new beginnings. Embracing new beginnings is about accepting change with open heart and mind, even when it feels uncomfortable. Life constantly presents us with new chapters, whether it's a new job, a change in relationships, or a shift in personal goals. The end of one phase, though sometimes painful, signals the start of something new and often better. Rather than resisting the unknown, embracing new beginnings means having the courage to step into the future with hope and anticipation, trusting that each new start brings its own set of opportunities and possibilities. When people or situations leave your life, it's easy to feel like something valuable has been lost. However, it's essential to see these endings as stepping stones to growth. New beginnings allow you to reframe your experiences, giving you a chance to redefine who you are, what you want, and where you're going. These moments of transition can be transformative, even if they feel like a loss at first. Embracing change allows you to let go of the past, free yourself from limiting beliefs, and make space for new growth and wisdom to emerge. Often, the resistance to new beginnings comes from fear of the unknown. We get comfortable with what we know, even if it's no longer serving us. But every new beginning carries the potential for greater peace, success, and fulfillment. It's about trusting that what lies ahead will align with your purpose, even if you don't yet have the full picture. Each new beginning has the power to introduce you to new people, new environments, and new experiences that are all part of your personal journey. Growth through change. Growth through change is an essential part of the human experience. Change is often uncomfortable, even painful, but it is also the catalyst for personal transformation. Without change, we would remain stagnant, stuck in the same routines and mindsets, unable to reach our full potential. Change forces us to confront new challenges, learn new lessons, and adapt in ways that help us grow. It can be hard to accept that first. Change pushes us out of our comfort zones and it encourages us to evolve into stronger, wiser versions of ourselves. When we face change, it often brings with it uncertainty and fear of the unknown. However, it's important to recognize that growth cannot happen without stepping into the unfamiliar. Every new experience, whether it's a new job, a new relationship, or a new environment, presents an opportunity to grow. Even failures or setbacks that come with change are valuable lessons that help us out more about ourselves, learning more about ourselves, our strengths, and our weaknesses. These experiences shape us and help refine our character, preparing us for future challenges and successes. The beauty of growth through change lies in the way it expands our perspectives. As we go through different life experiences, we gain a broader understanding of the world and the people around us. Our values, priorities, and beliefs may shift as we encounter new ideas and situations. This process of growth is often uncomfortable, but it's necessary vitally. Without change, we would never challenge our assumptions or grow beyond the limitations we set for ourselves. It's through change that we gain wisdom and maturity, equipping us to navigate the next chapter of our lives with more resilience and insight. Embracing growth through change means accepting that nothing stays the same forever. While it can be tempting to hold on to the familiar, true growth occurs when we allow ourselves to evolve. Life's changes, both big and small, provide the fertile ground needed for transformation. By trusting that each change, no matter how difficult, is part of a larger plan for our development, we can move forward with the confidence that we are always becoming the person we were meant to be. Growth through change is not only inevitable, but also a necessary part of living a fulfilling and a fulfilling life. God protects you. When we face difficult situations, it can be easy to feel as though we're alone or unprotected. However, God's protection is a constant presence in our lives, even when we deny it. His protection isn't always about keeping us from harm or discomfort. It's about guiding us through the challenges and helping us navigate the storms of life. Sometimes God's protection comes in the form of redirecting us away from situations or relationships that could harm us, even when we don't understand why things are happening. Trusting that God is protecting you means acknowledging that His wisdom far exceeds our own understanding. And God's protection often manifests through the removal of people or circumstances that might prevent us from fulfilling our purpose. When someone leaves your life or a door closes unexpectedly, it may feel like a setback. But in reality, It could be God's way of shielding you from further harm. People who are no longer meant to be in your life might have been draining your ration. God sees the bigger picture and knows what's best for you even when you can't see it yourself. His protection is a form of love that ensures you are kept safe from what could derail your growth or peace. There are also times when God protects us in ways that are not immediately obvious. And while He might not prevent you from experiencing hardship, but He will give you the strength, wisdom, and courage to endure it. And even in the midst of trials, God's protection comes in the form of peace and reassurance that you are not walking through life alone. He provides the emotional, mental, and spiritual support you need to face difficulties, always with the promise that He will never leave you or forsake you. God's protection is not just physical, but spiritual, ensuring that you are held in His care through every storm. Understanding that God protects you requires trust in His timing and His purposes. His protection isn't always about immediate relief, but about keeping you on the path that leads to growth, healing, and fulfillment. Even when things don't go according to your plans, trust that God is watching over you, guiding you, and ultimately keeping you safe. This protection may look different from what we expect, but it is always exactly what we need to fulfill our purpose and navigate life with faith and confidence. Let go to move forward. I think go to move forward is one of the most crucial steps in personal growth. Often we hold on to past relationships, past mistakes, or old patterns of thinking because they feel familiar, even if they no longer serve us. We may feel a sense of attachment or fear of what will happen if we release them, but holding on to these things keeps us stuck in the past. In order to grow and step into the future, we must have the courage to release what no longer contributes to our well-being. I think it's not about forgetting the past, but about freeing ourselves from the emotional and mental weight that keeps us from moving forward. Letting go often requires making difficult choices, whether it's letting go of a toxic relationship, a dream that no longer aligns with your purpose, or negative thought patterns. It's important to realize that holding on to things that hurt us only prolongs our suffering. Moving forward means accepting that some chapters of our lives are meant to close. It's not always easy, but it's necessary for growth. By letting go, you allow yourself to heal and make space for new experiences, people, and opportunities that will better serve the person you are becoming. When you choose to let go, you begin to open up to new possibilities. Holding on to the past can create a mental barrier, preventing you from seeing the opportunities right in front of you. By releasing what no longer fits, you clear the path for new growth, new connections, and new beginnings. Letting go requires trust that what lies ahead is better than what you're leaving behind, even if you can't see the whole picture yet. It's about having faith that the future will unfold in ways that are better for your life's purpose and your happiness. Ultimately, letting go is an act of self-love. It's recognizing that you deserve better and that you have that to move forward. It's about releasing the hold that old fears, regrets, and attachments have on you so that you can step in a future filled with possibility and growth. The act of letting go is freeing, and in doing so, you allow yourself the chance to evolve into the person you were always meant to be. Moving forward requires courage, but it also opens the door to a life of greater peace, fulfillment, and purpose. Healing takes time. Healing takes time because it's a process that cannot be rushed. When we experience emotional pain, loss, or trauma, the road to healing is rarely immediate. There's no quick fix for the deep wounds that affect our hearts, minds, and spirits. Healing requires patience and compassion with ourselves, as well as the willingness to face the pain instead of avoiding it. The journey to healing is a gradual unfolding where we allow ourselves to feel, process, and ultimately release the pain in a way that makes room for growth and renewal. It's important to understand that healing is not linear, and setbacks or moments of hurt along the way are completely normal. During the healing process, it may feel as though progress is slow, or that we'll never feel fully whole again. But it's vital to trust that each step, no matter how small, is moving us forward. Sometimes healing involves revisiting the past and confronting difficult emotions, but it's in those moments of reflection that we often find the strength and wisdom we need to move on. And even though it can feel discouraging at times, each phase of healing builds resilience and helps us grow stronger. With time, the intensity of the pain diminishes and we learn to cope with it in healthier ways. Healing is also about allowing ourselves the space to rest, reflect, and recharge. We may feel a sense of urgency to get over it, but true healing requires that we honor our emotional needs and give ourselves permission to heal at our own pace. It's easy to want to move forward quickly, but rushing the process can prevent us from fully understanding the lessons that come with it. In time, as we allow ourselves to heal naturally, we discover that our wounds no longer control us. Instead, we begin to embrace the strength we've gained through the process. Ultimately, healing teaches us that we don't have to be fixed in order to be whole. Healing is not about erasing pain, but rather learning how to live with it and transform it into something meaningful. As time passes, we begin to see that healing has made us more compassionate, more understanding, and more connected to others. The scars left by past pain may remain, but they serve as reminders of our resilience and our ability to overcome. Healing is a lifelong process, and with time we emerge stronger, more at peace, and ready for the next chapter of our lives. Make space for the right people. Making space for the right people in your life is an essential part of personal growth and building meaningful relationships. Often we hold on to people who no longer allow value, support our value. These relationships can be draining, toxic, or simply unreasonable, yet we resist letting go because we fear being alone or losing connections. However, by holding on to the wrong people, we prevent ourselves from welcoming the right people into our lives. The right people are those who uplift, challenge, and inspire us, helping us grow into the best version of ourselves. Letting go of those who no longer fit can create the space needed for new, healthier connections occur. Making space for the right people involves setting boundaries and being intentional about who you allow into your inner circle. It requires discernment, recognizing who adds value to your life and who drains your energy. It may not always be easy, especially when it involves letting go of long-standing friendships or relationships, but doing so is necessary for your emotional and mental well-being. The right people support you through challenges, celebrate your successes, and encourage your dreams. I offer constructive feedback and stand by you when times are tough. These are the individuals who make you feel seen, heard, and valued, and they play an essential role in your journey toward fulfillment. When you make space for the right people, you're also making space for the right energy. Surrounding yourself with positive, motivated, and like-minded individuals fosters an environment where you can thrive. These people bring out the best in you and inspire you to become the person you were meant to be. They encourage your growth, not just in your career or personal life, but also in your character. They push you to reach your potential, offering both support and healthy challenges. And making space for them means consciously choosing relationships that help you align with your goals and live with purpose. As you clear out the people who no longer belong in your life, you will notice that the right people naturally begin to enter. And when you release old connections that are no longer serving you, you open yourself up to new possibilities. The right people often appear when you are ready for them, after you've made room for their presence. They are the ones who will walk alongside you as you grow, and they will help you navigate life's challenges with greater strength and clarity. On making space for the right people, you are allowing your life to become a reflection of your contentment shelf, filled with the love, support, and the labor and positive influence you deserve. Forgiveness frees you. Amen? Forgiveness is one of the most powerful tools for emotional freedom and emotional healing. When we hold on to anger, resentment, or hurt, we often feel like we're punishing the person who wronged us, but in reality, we're only hurting ourselves. The pain of unforgiveness weighs heavily on our hearts, clouding our ability to move forward and experience peace. Forgiving someone doesn't mean condoning their actions or excusing their behavior. It simply means releasing the grip that their actions have over your life. By choosing forgiveness, you free yourself from the emotional chains that keep you anchored to the past. Forgiveness is a process that takes time and is often not easy. It requires a shift in mindset where you let go of the desire for justice or revenge and embrace healing. When you forgive, you are choosing to let go of the negative emotions that consume you, which can ultimately lead to physical freedom. Holding on to anger and resentment is like carrying a heavy burden. It saps your energy and makes it difficult to enjoy life fully. Forgiveness, on the other hand, lightens your heart, allowing you to move forward without being weighed down by the past. One of the most profound aspects of forgiveness is that it releases you from the emotional hold others have over you. When you forgive, you no longer allow someone's actions to dictate how you feel or how you react. The anger or pain you once felt no longer has control over your present state of mind. Instead of letting the actions of others dictate your emotional well-being, you take back your power. Forgiveness restores your sense of control and allows you to heal on your terms. It opens up space for peace, joy, and emotional freedom to fill the void left by resentment. Ultimately, forgiveness is an act of self-love. It's about choosing to prioritize your peace over the desire to stay angry or hold a grudge. When you forgive, you're taking a stand for your own mental, emotional health, refusing to let past hurts continue to harm you. By forgiving others, you release yourself from the cycle of pain and allow yourself to heal and move forward. This doesn't mean forgetting what happened or letting others off the hook, but rather it's about freeing yourself from the grip of bitterness so you can embrace a future filled with peace and growth. Don't take it personally. The idea of not taking things personally is a powerful mindset shift that helps protect your emotional well-being and promotes inner peace. When someone criticizes you, rejects you, or behaves in a way that feels hurtful, it's easy to internalize their actions and believe that they are a reflection of your worth. However, the truth is that people's actions are often more about them than they are about you. Their behavior may stem from their own insecurities, fears, or unresolved issues. When you take things personally, you allow someone else's emotional state to control how you feel, which ultimately leads to unnecessary pain and frustration. It's important to recognize that not everything is an attack on your character or abilities. But the way others treat you is shaped by their own experiences, perceptions, and struggles, which are beyond your control. By understanding this, you can develop a sense of detachment from their behavior, allowing you to maintain your equilibrium. When you choose not to take things personally, you stop allowing the actions of others to dictate your happiness or self-esteem. Well, you learn to respond to criticism or negativity with calmness rather than defensiveness. And you free yourself from the emotional burden of constantly trying to prove your worth to others. Learning not to take things personally also means recognizing that you cannot control how others feel or behave. No matter how kind, considerate, or genuine you are, there will always be people who misinterpret your intentions, react harshly, or judge you unfairly. This is part of life, but it doesn't have to affect your sense of self. When you stop taking things personally, you are essentially choosing to rise above the negativity and maintain your peace. You no longer need to seek validation from others or base your self-worth on their opinions. Instead, you trust that your value comes from within, not from external approval. By embracing the mindset of not taking things personally, you also cultivate greater empathy and understanding. You can begin to view the actions of others through the lens of compassion, recognizing that everyone has their own struggles and challenges. This shift in perspective can help you respond to difficult situations with grace and maturity, rather than reacting impulsively or emotionally. And not taking things personally is ultimately a way of protecting your own peace, allowing you to focus on your growth and well-being without being affected by the opinions or actions of others. God's timing is perfect. And God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't align with our own understanding or expectations. We often find ourselves frustrated, impatient, or confused when things don't happen according to the timeline we've set for ourselves. We may pray for something, work hard toward a goal, or wait for a breakthrough, but nothing seems to unfold in the way we envision. However, trusting in God's timing means understanding that He sees the bigger picture while we are limited to a narrow view. What may seem like a delay or an unanswered prayer is often God's way of preparing us for something greater, something that aligns more closely with our ultimate purpose. God's perfect timing doesn't mean everything will happen when we want it, but it does mean that everything will happen exactly when we need it. There is a divine order to the events of our lives, and each moment serves a purpose, whether we can see it at the time or not. Sometimes the delay or the challenges we face are part of the process that refines us, builds our character, and strengthens our faith. While we may struggle with the waiting period, it's important to remember that God's timing is never late, and it's never early, it is always right on time. And he knows when we're ready for the next step. And he knows the right moment for us to receive what we've been asking for. Trusting in God's timing requires surrendering our need for control and learning to be patient. It means acknowledging that we are not in charge of the unfolding of our lives and that his plan is far more intricate and beautiful than anything we could plan on our own. This trust is not always easy, especially when we feel a sense of urgency or when we're confronted with uncertainty. However, when we choose to trust God, we release the pressure of trying to make everything happen on our own and allow his wisdom and understanding to guide us. This surrender brings peace, knowing that he is orchestrating every detail in our lives with love and purpose. Ultimately, God's timing is perfect because it aligns with his perfect will for our lives. His plans for us are filled with hope and a future, and everything he does is for our ultimate good. While we may not always understand the delays or the detours, we can trust that each step is leading us to exactly where we need to be. In hindsight, we often realize that the waiting periods and the unanswered prayers were part of God's perfect timing, positioning us for blessings and opportunities that we couldn't have imagined. By trusting in God's timing, we can move forward with faith, knowing that he will never lead us astray. Patience strengthens faith. Patience strengthens faith because it requires us to trust in something greater than ourselves and in a higher plan. When we wait for something we deeply desire or need, it challenges us to move beyond our immediate desires and embrace the understanding that God's timing is perfect. Waiting can feel difficult, especially when it seems like nothing is happening or when we're faced with uncertainty. But it's in those moments that our faith is truly tested and refined. Through patience, we learn that God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating events in ways we might not fully understand yet, but that ultimately serve our best interest. In times of waiting, patience teaches us to surrender our need for control and allows us to rely more fully on God's provision. When we don't see immediate results or answers to our prayers, it forces us to let go of our limited perspective and trust that God's plan is better than anything we could have imagined. Patience encourages us to focus on the present moment, trusting that every step we take, even in the silence or delays, preparing us for something greater. And this reliance on God's timing builds the muscles of our faith and deepens our relationship with him, teaching us to trust him more fully. When we exercise patience, we also learn that faith isn't just about asking for something and receiving it right away. It's about continuing to believe, even when the answers seem delayed. Patience is a reflection of trust in God's faithfulness, and through it, we come to understand that God is not ignoring us, but is waiting for the right moment to bless us. It's in these waiting periods that we learn the value of perseverance and how God uses the waiting process to strengthen us spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. Ultimately, patience strengthens faith by cultivating an attitude of trust, hope, and expectation. The more we wait on God, the more we grow in our ability to trust him without doubt. When we begin to see that waiting is not a waste of time, but an opportunity for God to prepare us, refine us, and increase our capacity to receive his blessings. Through patience, we become more confident in God's promises, knowing that he is always faithful to fulfill them in his perfect timing. Time aligns with purpose. Timing aligns with purpose because God's plan for our lives unfolds at exactly the right moment to fulfill the unique destiny he has prepared for us. Often we may not understand why certain things happen when they do or why there are periods of waiting. But we can trust that every delay, detour, and setback is part of a divine process. God's timing ensures that we are positioned in the right place at the right time and surrounded by the right people for the fulfillment of our purpose. While we may desire things to happen faster, we must trust that the timing of each event is carefully orchestrated to align with our greater calling. When we recognize that timing is part of God's design, we see that everything happens for a reason. The challenges we face, the doors that close, and the opportunities that arise are all part of his greater purpose for our lives. It's easy to become discouraged when things don't happen as quickly as we want them to, but trusting that God's timing is perfect allows us to release control and embrace the process. Every experience, whether positive or negative, is a step toward fulfilling our purpose, and often we need specific lessons, skills, or wisdom that can only some. In moments of delay, we may feel as though we're not making progress, but it's in those waiting seasons that God is often refining us. During these times, He shapes our character, deepens our faith, and equips us for the purpose He has for us. Without these seasons of preparation, we might not be ready to step into the fullness of what He has planned. Our purpose is not about a single moment or achievement, but a journey that unfolds as we grow in wisdom, strength, and understanding. The time of events in our lives allows us to align with our true purpose at just the right moment, making us ready for what lies ahead. Ultimately, God's timing ensures that everything we experience leads us closer to fulfilling our purpose. Each season of life serves a unique role in shaping who we are and where we are. When we embrace God's timing, we release the pressure of trying to force things to happen and trust that He is in control. As we move forward, we find that the pieces of our life puzzle fall into place, and we understand that all the waiting and preparation were necessary for us to walk in the fullness of the purpose He has for us. Timing teaches us to trust God's control. Timing teaches us to trust God's control by reminding us that we are not the ones in charge of the outcomes in our lives. So often we find ourselves striving, pushing, and trying to make things happen on our own. We become anxious when things don't unfold according to our plan, believing that we must take matters into our own hands. But God's timing helps us understand that there is a picture at play, one that we may not fully see or comprehend. When we allow ourselves to trust in His control, we release the burden of trying to manage everything ourselves and acknowledge that He knows what's best for us at every moment. Trusting God's timing requires surrendering the need for immediate results. In moments of uncertainty or delay, it's natural to want to speed things up or force outcomes, but when we resist this urge and trust in His timing, we allow God to work in His own way and in His own time. And at this process, we begin to understand that God's plan for our lives is not just about reaching our goals or achieving success, but about shaping our hearts, building our faith, and preparing us for the blessings ahead. Trusting in His control means letting go of the need to rush and embracing the peace that comes from knowing that He is guiding us every step of the way. As we learn to trust God's control, we also learn to be patient and wait with anticipation. Instead of focusing on what we don't have or where we haven't yet arrived, we can trust that God is unfolding His plan for us in the perfect way and at the perfect time. The delays or detours we experience are not obstacles, but opportunities to grow in trust and patience. Each moment of waiting teaches us to rely more fully on God, to deepen our dependence on Him, and to surrender our time into His perfect will. In this way, waiting becomes an opportunity to grow closer to God and strengthen our faith in His wisdom. Ultimately, the more we trust in God's timing, the more we come to realize that His control over our lives brings peace. We no longer need to worry about when things will happen or whether we're on the right path, because we trust that He is orchestrating everything in our favor. The more we surrender to His control, the more we experience the assurance that He is working everything out for our good, even when we cannot see the full picture. God's timing teaches us to rest in His sovereignty, knowing that He is in complete control and that everything threatening is happening according to His perfect plan. In conclusion, when we allow ourselves to trust in God's timing, we free ourselves from the anxiety and impatience that often accompany life's uncertainties. His timing is never wrong. It is perfect in every way, aligning with His greater purpose for our lives. Through patience, we learn to grow in faith and trust that everything is unfolding as His wish. Even in moments of delay or struggle, we are being shaped and prepared for the blessings and opportunities that are ahead. By understanding that timing aligns with purpose teaches us to trust God's control and refines our character. We can face life's challenges with peace and confidence. Ultimately, trusting in God's perfect timing enables us to surrender our need for control and embrace the journey, knowing that everything we experience is part of this divine plan for our ultimate good. Thank you for taking the time to engage with this message. I hope the words have inspired and encouraged you to trust in God's timing and embrace the beautiful journey He has planned for you. May you find peace in knowing that every step you take is part of a greater purpose. I remember you were never alone on this path, and everything unfolds exactly when it's meant to. Goodbye for now, and I wish you all the best on your journey. Take care and stay blessed.